Hi, this is Bill, one of the goldsmiths here at Cormier Jewelers in Southbridge, and today we're going to show you how we're going to size down a sterling silver ring with an amber stone in it. So basically, the first thing we want to do is find out what size we need to size the ring down to. So this ring is going to be going down to a size 7, and currently it is size 7 3/4. So we need to reduce its size by 3/4 of a size. So to do so, we will take out our ring sizing chart, and we have some scribes here that mark out exactly 3/4 of a piece of metal. So what we will do is scribe in some markings to show where we need to cut. We've got a couple lines in there. We'll take our saw blade and we will cut on the lines to remove the piece. Okay, now our piece is removed. What we need to do now is we need to join the ring together to make a seam or a joint that we can weld together. Now, we're going to be sizing this with newer technology. We sometimes use the torch with natural gas and oxygen and use solder and apply heat and weld the joint. But in this case, this stone is an amber stone, very heat sensitive. So we're going to use some new technology called a laser welder, and we're going to weld the shank using laser light, which will keep the heat away from the stone because the laser does not heat up the bottom of the ring. It's just very precise and instant heat that welds very quickly without transferring heat that could damage the stone. Now, in order to prepare this for the laser, what I need to do is I need to take a file and file the shank at an angle to create a welding seam or welding joint that the laser can weld. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to use a tool called a ring bender, and we're going to bend the shank inward to join the pieces together, making a tight seam. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this over to our laser welding machine, and I've made myself a nice little V here, and what I'm going to do is take this little laser and laser the seam, and then take some sterling silver wire and fill in this gap right here. And the reason why we make a nice little gap or a little seam like this is so the laser can penetrate and really get a good bond and a good weld, and then we backfill it with some metal. So now we're going to go over to the laser and show you how that portion of this repair is done. Okay, here we are at our laser welder. This is our laser welding machine, state-of-the-art technology. This has really helped us out in the repair industry quite a bit. Enables us to do repairs that we've never been able to do before. So basically, we work with our hands inside this machine, and we look through this binocular microscope, which magnifies this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this ring, which I had filed back at the workbench and made a nice seam. As you can see, there's my seam. And what I need to do is I need to set my parameters. So this machine works off of voltage, milliseconds, hertz, and beam diameter. These are all parameters that we use to weld. So sterling requires a lot of voltage or a very high laser power to weld. So what we're going to do is we're going to boost up this voltage. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of a marker, and I'm going to put a little bit of red markings on this. And the reason why I'm doing that is because silver is a very reflective metal. So the laser is light, and it wants to bounce off the silver metal instead of actually weld. It wants to reflect off of it. So if we mark this in red, it will help absorb the light and create a better weld. Okay, so it looks like our joint is nice and tight. I'm going to go ahead and take my first shot here and just get a nice weld. Alright. Decrease the power a little bit. That looks like a nice weld right there. So we're going to go down the seam. Welding the ring. And like I said before, the reason why we're using the laser is because amber is a very heat sensitive stone. So this, as you can see, I'm putting my finger right on the ring, it generates no or very little heat. I'm able to use the laser and put my finger right on it, and it's fairly cool. So now that I have the the initial seam welded, let's come from the back and weld that up. Got a nice little weld there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some sterling silver weld wire. This is 30 gauge wire, very, very thin, as you can see, the diameter of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this wire to fill in the crevice here and backfill the ring with sterling silver, the same metal that this ring is made of. I'm going to just widen the beam a little bit. Now you can see the laser circles are actually a little bit bigger, a little wider. What this is doing is this is actually melting the wire right into the ring. It's actually laser welding with metal on metal, which is the strongest bond you can get. It's actually stronger than using solder. Okay, I'm going to increase my beam a little bit just to smooth this out. Come underneath the ring, smooth it out a little bit on the inside. There we go. Now that the ring has been successfully welded, the next step in sizing this ring is to take it back to the workbench and use some abrasive wheels, some files, and some polishing compound to remove the excess and blend this into the ring shank. So now we'll be taking this ring back to the workbench to complete the buffing process to get rid of all the silver weld right here. Okay, we're back here at the goldsmith workbench. We've just come back from the laser welder and laser welded the ring closed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to check the size. So we said that we needed to size this ring down to a 7 from a 7 3/4. So we'll place the ring on our ring stick, and as you can see, it is exactly a size 7. So now the next step in sizing this ring is to remove the excess silver that we had put on there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take what's called a half round inside ring file, and we're just going to remove the extra on the inside of the ring. The next step we want to do is we want to take a different type of file I like to use. It's called a Barrett file, and remove some of the excess silver on the side of the ring. Okay, now the final part of filing is we're going to use this, what's called an emery stick. It's basically a piece of sandpaper, kind of a fine grit sandpaper, and we're going to remove the rest of it and some of the file marks. This step right here with the emery paper is the final step at the bench before we take it over to our buffing machine, where we use buffing compounds and buffing wheels. So basically it's the same process. You're just removing a little bit more metal and making it nice and smooth. And in the same time, I'm going to remove some of the heavier scratches that's here on the ring. All right. So now the ring's been filed, and the emery board's been used on there, and gotten rid of most of the real heavy divots, scratches, and the excess metal from our welding process. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this ring over to our buffing machine, and we're going to use some compounds to give this a high polish. Okay, here's our ring. We've cleaned it up and removed all the polishing compounds off of it. And this is the finished product. Looks like it has a beautiful shine to it. And the stone is nice and tight. And now we're ready to call the customer. So now you can see how we size down a sterling silver amber ring. This is how we size most of our rings. And I'd like to thank you for taking time to watch this video. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us. Thank you.